She screamed like I was holding a weapon. Then she pulled out a can of pepper spray and aimed it. Not at me, but at my service dog, the hiss, the shriek, the sudden silence after Luna collapsed on the floor, eyes burning, paws thrashing. It didn't feel real, but it was, and as I knelt by her side, choking on fumes, that woman just stood there smiling like she had done the world a favor. She had no idea she just committed a federal crime, and she was about to learn exactly what that meant. The fluorescent lights hummed above like a swarm of bees trapped in a box, and the air was thick with the scent of overripe bananas and bleach. As I guided Luna's harness through the sliding glass doors of the grocery store, her golden fur brushed my leg as we walked in rhythm past a display of apples and into the heart of the produce section. She was calm as always, steady as my heartbeat, and the only reason I could navigate this chaos without the crushing panic that usually followed crowds. I had just turned toward the bread aisle when I heard it. A sharp voice like nails dragged across a chalkboard. "Get that filthy mud away from me." My spine stiffened. I turned slowly and saw her mid-40s heavy perfume clinging to her like fog, a thick coat, a foundation that cracked when her mouth twisted into a sneer. Her eyes narrowed like I had walked in wearing a bomb strapped to my chest instead of a service dog vest on a calm, obedient retriever. "Are you deaf?" I said. "Get that dog out of here." I kept my voice low measured. "She's a service animal, ma'am. She's allowed to be here." She scoffed. "Don't ma'am me. I know your type, dragging animals into stores pretending to be disabled for attention or a free ride." I felt the heat rise in my chest. Not from embarrassment, from rage. I had heard versions of this before. Whispers from people who thought disability had a look, or that I owed them an explanation for needing Luna. But never this bold. Never this loud. "She's trained to assist with medical episodes," I said, calm even though my hands were shaking. "I have a legal right to bring her." She crossed her arms and looked me up and down. "You don't look sick to me. Maybe you're just lazy." Luna shifted slightly, sensing my change in tone. Her nose brushing my thigh, I took a breath. This wasn't worth it. I turned and walked away, ignoring her as she muttered something about freeloaders and fakers. I could feel her eyes on me as I moved through the store, but I focused on Luna, on the rhythm of her steps, on the canned soup sign hanging just ahead. I had almost convinced myself it was over, until I turned into aisle 9. It was quiet, empty rows of condiments to my left, cereal to my right, and at the end of the aisle, standing like a statue carved from spite, she was waiting Kerren. Her purse hanging from one shoulder, and in her hand something small and black. It happened in a flash. A hiss, a sharp gasp, and then Luna screamed. A horrible high pitch I had never heard from her. She stumbled sideways, crashing into a shelf. Bottles tumbled and shattered. My knees buckled. "What did you do?" I shouted, rushing to Luna, who was pawing at her face. Her eyes clenched shut, her tongue lolling in pain. Kerren stood back, smug and unmoved. "I warned you," she said. "That animal's disgusting." I was protecting myself. I couldn't speak. I was shaking. Luna whimpered in my arms as I shouted for help. Footsteps, a manager, a stock boy. Someone dialed 911. A crowd gathered phones. Came out. Kerren just stood there, arms crossed, expression blank. I cradled Luna, tears blurring everything she was trying to breathe. Her chest rising too fast. The burn from the pepper spray was already reddening her fur around her eyes. "You hurt her," I said through clenched teeth. "You assaulted a service animal?" Kerren rolled her eyes. "Please, it's just a dog spray, washes off. Maybe now you'll think twice before parading your little act around real people." Paramedics arrived. They checked Luna. They checked me. Someone mentioned pressing charges. Kerren waved it off. "I have allergies." I felt threatened. That dog growled at me. I acted in self-defense. I wanted to scream, to throw something. Instead, I sat in the back of the ambulance with Luna's head in my lap. Her breathing slowed. Her tail didn't wag. She just lay there, trusting me even now. The vet ER smelled like disinfectant and despair. They flushed her eyes, gave her fluids, said the next 48 hours would tell us if her vision would recover. I nodded through the fog. Signed the papers, paid the bill. At home, I collapsed on the floor. Luna beside me wrapped in a blanket. She didn't move much, just leaned against me softly. My phone buzzed. A message from a neighbor. Saw what happened. That woman's name is Kerren DeWitt. She lives on Oak Ridge. Not the first time she's done something like this. I stared at the screen. My breath shallow, I didn't know what to do. But I knew this. It wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I whispered, to Luna, we're not letting her get away with this. The police arrived an hour later. Their presence should have brought relief, but it only deepened the nausea twisting in my stomach. 2 officers stepped inside the clinic where Luna lay sedated. In a metal crate, her fur still damp from the medicated rinse. I stood up as they approached, my legs numb from waiting. One of them introduced himself, his voice neutral and unreadable. We just want to get a statement, he said. Nothing official yet. Told them everything. From the moment Kerren yelled to when she sprayed Luna to how she claimed self-defense. The officer nodded, took notes, asked for descriptions. I offered the name. A neighbor had sent me. Kerren DeWitt, Oak Ridge Lane. He paused then, shrugged. Not much we can do without video evidence, and she's claiming the dog growled first. My heart thudded like a fist on a locked door. She didn't growl, I said. She's trained. She never growls. She's a service animal. He nodded again, but didn't meet my eyes. I understand, but unless we can prove that she wasn't in danger, we can't proceed with assault charges. I wanted to scream, you saw Luna, she's blind right now, she might not recover. The second officer spoke up, and, I'm sorry truly, but the footage from the store doesn't show the spray, just the aftermath and a confrontation earlier, where you were seen raising your voice. I blinked, raising my voice. That was their takeaway. Kerren wasn't arrested. She wasn't even fined. They left with a polite apology and a vague promise to write up a report. I sat in silence in the clinic lobby, feeling like a ghost. A hollow shell of fury and disbelief. At home, the injustice kept gnawing at me. Luna lay curled in her bed, moving only when I coaxed her to drink. The house was too quiet. Every creak of the floor sounded like a scream I hadn't let out. I turned to the internet. Typed with trembling fingers. Can someone pepper spray a service dog? Is that legal? Do I have any rights? And then I saw it. The Americans with Disabilities Act. Interfering with a service dog was not just wrong. It was a federal offense, punishable by fines and even jail time. I read the paragraph 3 times. The words pulsed in my brain, like a drumbeat. She broke the law and walked away smiling. I shared what happened on a disability support forum. People responded with outrage. Some shared similar stories. Others offered legal advice. Someone gave me the number of a nonprofit that supported victims of disability rights violations. I called. A woman named Teresa answered. Warm voice, sharp mind. She listened, took notes and said, you have a case, but it's going to take evidence and patience, and some public pressure wouldn't hurt either. The next day, the first message appeared on my phone. From an unknown number, maybe keep your freak mutt at home next time. Then a post on Nextdoor. It was her Kerren. She posted a dramatic retelling claiming a vicious animal had lunged at her in the grocery store, and she heroically defended herself. She didn't mention pepper spray, or that the dog was a registered service animal. She attached a blurry picture of Luna. The caption said, fake service dog alert. Some neighbors believed her, others defended me, but the damage was done. Whispers turned to accusations. Strangers posted vague messages about scammers abusing the system. One night I woke to a loud thump. I ran outside. Eggs on the door. Words spray painted on the sidewalk. Dog faker in red dripping letters. Luna flinched at the sound of my footfall, and I realized she wasn't the only one scarred by this. I had become a villain in the eyes of people who didn't know me, and Kerren had orchestrated it perfectly. I drove. Past the grocery store a few days later, Kerren was there. Standing near the entrance, laughing with another woman, I parked across the lot and watched. She looked radiant. Untouchable. Like she owned the air around her. Her friend said something, and Kerren tossed her head back. "I'm telling you, I saved the whole store," she said. She mimed holding a canister and made a hissing noise. Both of them laughed. Then she added, "Let that faker sue me. I've got friends at City Hall. Nothing's gonna happen." To me, I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. She wasn't just unrepentant, she was proud. She thought she had won, and maybe she had. So far, I looked at Luna in the back seat resting her head on the blanket. She had been everything. I wasn't steady, gentle, loyal. And now she was paying for someone else's cruelty. Kerren had declared war. She just didn't know it yet. Because I was done waiting for justice to come on its own. I was going to drag it to her front door if I had to, and I wasn't going to stop until she learned exactly what it meant to attack someone who had already lost so much and still dared to stand. The plan began with a single post, a carefully worded account of everything that had happened, written not with rage, but with restraint. No insults, no exaggerations, just facts. A photo of Luna in her vest before the incident, and another after swollen eyes and bandaged paws. I posted it on my social media, then shared it with the disability advocacy group Teresa had connected me with. They amplified it, and within 24 hours it had over 50,000 shares. I didn't use Kerren's full name. Not yet. I wasn't going to get sued for defamation, but I included every detail that mattered: the store, the spray, the lies, and the fact that hurting a service animal was a federal crime. Messages poured in, support anger, people demanding justice. Lawyers offered free consultations. Veterans with service dogs posted in solidarity. Journalists reached out. One local reporter asked if I would speak on camera. I hesitated, but Luna still couldn't see clearly, and her silence felt like a weight I had to carry with words. So I said yes. The interview aired the next day. I sat on my couch clutching Luna's collar as the screen showed her limp in my arms on the vet's table. The anchor spoke with measured outrage. "A local woman says her service dog was pepper sprayed at a grocery store. Witnesses say the suspect claimed self-defense, but advocates argue this is part of a disturbing pattern. They played part of my interview. I didn't cry. I kept my voice calm. I talked about invisible disabilities, about what Luna meant to me, and about the fear of walking into a store and being treated like a threat." That night, Kerren made a post of her own, a long, angry rant. She denied everything, said I was making it up for clout, that the media had twisted. Her words, she blamed cancel culture, accused me of exploiting the system, but it backfired. Someone commented, "Didn't you brag about spraying the dog outside the store last week?" Another added a screenshot from next door, where she had posted that blurry photo. Someone else shared a video they'd taken right after the incident, not of the moment itself, but of her saying, "I warned her I was going to spray it." That video hit 500,000 views in 3 days. The comment section turned brutal. People weren't just angry, they were disgusted. And the more Kerren fought back, the worse it got. Teresa called me. "We're ready to file a complaint," she said. "Federal, not just local. We've got statements from witnesses, the vet report, and now public pressure on our side." I asked her if that meant Kerren could actually be charged. She hesitated, then said, "It's not guaranteed, but it puts her on the radar of people she can't charm or threaten, and even if they don't press charges, the lawsuit is real." I didn't smile. Not yet. There was still too much noise in my head, but something shifted, a weight loosening its grip. Then the grocery store released a statement. They hadn't done it before, not until the story blew up, but now they posted. On every platform, they condemned the attack. They confirmed Luna was a service animal. They said the customer involved was no longer welcome in any of their locations. Kerren's face was on the news now. Not just locally. National headlines. Woman accused of spraying service dog may face federal charges. She tried to play the victim, interviewed by a sympathetic channel, tears and talk of allergies and panic, and how the world was turning against decent people. But no one bought it, because behind her was a painting, a framed picture of a dog growling. And someone zoomed in. The internet never misses. It turned into a meme overnight. Decent people with a snarling dog captioned "spray and pray." I should have felt vindicated, but I didn't. Not really. It Wasn't until I saw Luna follow a scent trail across our backyard, tail wagging for the first time in weeks, that I let myself breathe again. She stopped under the oak tree, lifted her head, and looked right at me. Her vision wasn't perfect yet, but it was coming back. I knelt beside her, ran my hand down her side. "We're not done," I whispered. She still thinks she can hide behind excuses, because Kerren hadn't apologized. Not once. Not to me. Not to Luna. She had lost the public, but she still walked free, and I wasn't stopping until that changed. The courtroom smelled like dust and disinfectant. Kerren sat across from me, her face stony, her hair pulled tight into a severe bun that tried to mimic control. She didn't look at me not once, but I saw her jaw clench when Luna walked in beside me wearing her vest and dark goggles. Her sight was still cloudy, but her steps were steady and proud. The judge called for silence. The air buzzed with it. The federal suit wasn't criminal, not yet, but it was a statement that this mattered, that Luna mattered, and that what Kerren did was not going to be buried under small-town gossip and cowardice. Our lawyer stood first. He spoke with calm precision, laying out the facts that Luna was a trained and certified service dog, that Kerren had no legal reason to attack her, that Luna was not just an animal, but a lifeline, and that the attack caused physical trauma, emotional distress, and lasting damage to both of us. He showed. The vet reports the security footage. The viral video where Kerren admitted, "I warned her I was going to spray it." Kerren's lawyer stammered through excuses, said she feared for her life, said she thought she was in danger, that she acted in panic. Not malice, but then came the text messages. The ones she had sent to a neighbor, the ones she never expected anyone to see. One read, "I hope that Mutt goes blind for good. Maybe then she'll learn her place." The courtroom shifted. Even the bailiff flinched. Kerren's expression cracked for a second. Just one flicker of fear. When they called me to testify, I stood and walked forward with Luna at my side. I told them what happened. But more than that, I told them who Luna was, how she kept me grounded, how she pulled me back from panic when the world spun too fast, how she was my partner, not a pet, and how it felt when someone decided that none of that mattered. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just told the truth and let it speak for itself. Judge didn't rule that day. Said he needed to review all evidence, said a verdict would come soon. But when I walked out of that courtroom, I felt something new. Not victory, not yet, but power. The kind that comes from refusing to be silent. That night, someone slid an envelope under my door. Inside was a letter typed anonymous. It said, "She's losing everything, her job, her club membership, her realtor license, everything. And she still thinks she's the victim. Just thought you should know." I folded the letter slowly, not with glee but with quiet finality. The next morning I posted one last update. I thanked everyone who stood with me. I shared Luna's progress, and I wrote, "This was never about revenge. This was about reminding the world that disabled does not mean disposable, and that our companions, our protectors, our dogs deserve better." The post reached over 1 million people. One of them tagged a disability rights attorney who picked up our case pro bono. Another tagged a congresswoman who made a public statement supporting stricter enforcement of service animal protections. And a local animal rights group announced they were naming their new outreach center after Luna. Then came the call. Kerren had been arrested, not for the spray, but for filing a false police report, for tampering with evidence, for harassment. After the incident, she had tried to paint herself as a target. And in doing so, she left a trail of lies that unraveled in front of the authorities when they knocked on her door with a warrant. She had tried to record them, tried to rant about her rights. The video went viral in hours. She screamed about conspiracies, about fake dogs, about being the real victim, and people watched and laughed and turned away. Was booked and released the same day, but her name was tarnished. Her face became the face of entitled cruelty. Her meme spray and prey trailed her like a shadow. Weeks later, the civil verdict came in. The judge ruled in our favor. Kerren was ordered to pay damages to cover Luna's medical bills, therapy, and additional training. But more than that, he stated on record that her actions were malicious and in direct violation of federal disability protections. When I walked out of that courthouse, this time Luna trotted beside me, her gait light, her nose lifted to the wind as if she knew the weight had shifted. A local reporter asked me if I had anything to say now that it was over. I looked into the camera and smiled. Justice is never about revenge. It's about making sure the next person doesn't have to suffer in silence. Kerren vanished from public life, closed her accounts, sold her house, moved somewhere. No one knew or cared who she was, but every now and then, a new meme would pop up. A still from that video, her red face frozen mid-scream, captioned, "Guess who just sprayed herself out of society?" And I'd laugh, not out of spite, but because truth has a funny way of finding its way back. Luna still wears her goggles. Sometimes, people stop and ask what happened. I tell them the story, briefly with pride. Because what happened to us was cruel, but what we did with it was powerful. And now, every time we walk into a store together, heads turn, not with suspicion, but with respect. And Kerren, wherever she is, knows that silence didn't win, lies didn't win. Luna did, we did.